Cameroon is a country with about 25 million inhabitants. Women represent about 51% of the population, that is 12,750,000. According to Investir au Cameroun, these women make up 52% of the poor population.
I started my business with 150,000 francs in 1998. If you look at the shop, we deal in women's dresses, men's wear, shoes, children.
J'avais commencé avec un soutien il y a de cela pratiquement 20 ans. Je serais en train d'utiliser pour d'employer des familles entières.
The 2016 report on entrepreneurship and gender in Cameroon, published by the National Institution of Statistics, said that only 37.5% of Cameroonian women are turning towards entrepreneurship.
The difficulties has been at least increasing the capital to meet the demand of my clients.
Unfortunately, most women in Cameroon lack access to financing, which affect most aspects of their life, thus making them to contribute little to the economic growth of the country.
Do we agree or disagree that women have a problem accessing finance or credit in Cameroon? If the answer is yes, then why are they not able to access credit? What is impeding their access to credit? And those factors can be transformed into the opportunities for them to have access.
They are in the formal and informal sector and contribute to the economic transformation of the country.
Women are mostly engaged in the informal sector.
Many of these women are working daily to survive in the various sectors like the food industry, vendors, new technologies, agribusinesses, sales, and other businesses. But their difficulties are many, including easy access to finance for greater productivity and sustainability.
À un moment, on a besoin de beaucoup plus qu'une idée. On a besoin de moyens. Et c'est là que le bas blesse parce que ça ne suit pas toujours. Là, je vous assure, ça n'a pas été facile, parce que depuis 1995, j'ai connu la tête à gauche et à droite pour avoir les financements. C'est pas évident pour une femme d'avoir accès au financement parce que les conditions qu'on vous pose, la crédibilité, parce que vous êtes une femme, on n'est pas sûr que, est-ce que effectivement vous voulez vous adonner jusqu'à fond, c'était très difficile.
I had my first loan with a bank. And to get this loan, it was not easy. It wasn't easy because my husband had to come into the scene. The documents of our house was in his name and they needed a collateral, that is a house. And he had to sign papers.
There are specific requirements to have access to credit in general. The question is, are these requirements gender sensitive? That is where we have an issue. Commercial banks have products, mostly products that are not adapted to women or women's activities. And one of the reasons for that is because women's activities are tailored in a way that is not attractive to commercial banks. Women in particular operate in the informal sector. They mostly have micro enterprises. And when you look at commercial banks, the cost of giving out a micro loan is very high for the commercial bank. The risk is high for the commercial banks. And to monitor a loan to monitor 1 million that is given out to 100 women is very expensive for a commercial bank as opposed to monitoring 1 million francs that is given to one a business owner. So that is why it is not attractive to commercial banks. But that notwithstanding, we have the microfinance sector that is making an effort to award loans to women's group. Now we have the question of accessibility that comes into play. Are the products that they are selling accessible to women? That is a problem that needs to be addressed because most of the products do not take into consideration the specificity of women-owned businesses.
In a report published by the World Bank in 2014, 10% of women in Cameroon have an account with an official financial institution, a country that has 15 banks and about 500 microfinance institutions.
Most women do not open an account. They do not have the knowledge, their agency that they can open an account in order to take credit to boost their economic activities. women do not have collateral. No, to take a loan, you must have the collateral to back it, like a land title. So women do not have real estate. Maybe because the economic power is low to acquire such asset.
If a woman is not aware of opportunities or resources which she's eligible for, she will never go out for it. There are women who do not know that, who think that in credit unions, they still need permission or authorization from their spouse to have an account or to borrow money. But they do not know that you can walk in as an individual into a credit union. If you want to open an account, you can open. If you want to save up, you can save up. If you want to ask for a loan.
In loan administration, there are certain requirements or certain procedures that are not adapted to women. The women either find the procedures cumbersome or these procedures don't take into consideration their reality. So it becomes difficult for women to have access due to administrative bottlenecks with the financial sector. Now, on the second level, we look at the offer of financial services. As I had earlier explained, the products are not adapted. But then we also have the collateral requirements to guarantee a loan, which are also not adapted to women, because most of the collateral that are required by financial institutions, either property title, which we all know the challenges that women face in having access to property title, or even to have access to property ownership. Land ownership is also a problem for women. Now, the financial services that are offered sometimes are not attractive to women because of the cost. The cost of the product, that's in terms of the interest rate, might be high when you look at the activity of the woman, which is mostly micro. So the profit margin of the activities are so low that women find it not unattractive to pay high interest on loans just to carry out an activity that is not that does not have a large profit margin.
This explains, on the one hand, a low rate of financing, and on the other hand, that the vast majority of this female population are found in rural areas, about 51.3%, as indicated by the Central Bureau of Census and Population Studies in Cameroon.
Women in rural areas have their small social groups where they contribute the little that they can afford. So they always have their small social groups where they have small financial schemes. When women become part of that group and they are contributing, they become eligible to pose for loans, which their financial scheme work of their social group can afford.
Given these challenges related to women's access to finance, is it fair to say there is an imbalance in favor of men, inequality, or a lack of equity in the value given to women entrepreneurs?
I think I faced a lot of challenges. You need the means, you need the capital, and it is not easy. I tell you, it's not easy to have it. First, the administrative bottleneck in acquiring the loans with the bank. And secondly, as a woman, maybe when they see you, when you go and you apply for a loan, they look at you as, being I shouldn't say the weaker sex, no. Being the female, you might find it difficult to pay.
Although the law does not clearly state that this particular requirement is needed for a woman to have access to loans, the implementation of existing laws does not favor women, because women businesses are not attractive to the financial sector. Financial institutions will tell you that there's non-discriminative access to credit, but when a woman presents herself for credit, or asks, are you married? If you're married, can we have the consent of your husband, or do we have a legal document to attest to the fact that you are married? So that in itself is a barrier for women to have access. Now, on the part of demand, some social norms do not permit women to request for credit from financial institutions. And because in some communities, women are not allowed to be financially independent. So that in itself will prevent them from accessing credit in order to carry out a financial activity.
It is the responsibility of women to educate themselves while acknowledging the considerable work of civil society organizations and the efforts of the government over the years.
First, I'm going to advise women to visit banks, to visit credit union, to be part of social groups.
They should try to encourage the women by maybe facilitating the access to get loans. And not just facilitating, because some of us women can be funny too. They can give us the loans, but management is a problem, I will advise that while facilitating the process for them to get loans, they should also follow up the individuals, follow them up to actually ensure that those loans are managed properly.
Women should also take the risks. That every venture is risk. If you don't take the risk, you will not progress. The more the risk, the more they get the profit. So you have the courage to come in for loans.
Women should transition from the informal sector to the formal sector. In as much as some of them are afraid of entering the formal sector, the only way you can really grow is if they transition from the informal and the formal to the formal sector. They need to also develop sound business practices, develop their skills, and venture into other markets with the goods and services that they offer. That way they can increase their chances of having access to credit and conquer even larger markets. All financial institutions should have a social mission, be it banks, non-banking institutions, microfinance institutions. They need to look at the social aspect, and that would be geared towards women and youths. So that way they can develop products, financial products and services that are adapted to women's needs. They should also render this product accessible to women, accessible in terms of the cost, in terms of proximity, in terms of availability, and in terms of ease of access to these women.
There is an urgent need to facilitate and reduce the procedures for obtaining finance for women entrepreneurs who are a plus factor for the economic growth of Cameroon.